Howdy Space Rangers, Captain Phoenix here, and today I thought I'd make another video on Dragons Rising since I'm still on my Ninjago high. However, unlike other Ninjago video essays I've done, this one is less of a glazing video and more of a confused rant. At first, I thought everything would figure itself out after I spent time reflecting on the new Dragons Rising season, but nope, I'm still confused as of now, and if things really are as doom and gloom as I think, I might seriously start worrying about the future of this show and its canon. My problem is, of course, the meaning/impact of death and how this newest season seems to have done away with it. Now, I know that this is a bold statement to claim, so what do I mean by it? Well, first, I think it's best to explain exactly what I'm talking about and the context required for that statement. First of all, yes, I know death never really meant much in Ninjago to begin with. This is ultimately a children's show after all. With the exception of Mistake and Dr. Julian, no important character has remained permanently dead in the show's run. I think we all got accustomed to this though, since, Ninjago has always operated on being a kids show and using comic book logic. With that said though, death is still an important topic of discussion in the show. I mean, there are literally 3 realms dedicated to dead people. First is the Underworld. This is the realm where dishonored warriors go to when they die and become living skeletons. Think of it like a reverse Valhalla. Next is the Cursed Realm, a world where cursed souls go to when they die. It's basically Ninjago's version of hell. Though it's not exactly clarified how a soul becomes cursed. We know that someone can get cursed by an inhabitant of the Cursed Realm, but we've never seen an example of where it happens naturally, so we don't know what it takes to get there. Thus, it wouldn't be accurate for me to say if only bad people go there. And small side note, the Cursed Realm is the only realm we know so far that's actually sentient and alive. The Pyramid is a giant kaiju monster that houses all the ghosts. And lastly, we have the Departed Realm. This realm is basically where everyone else goes to when they die. Think of it like Ninjago's purgatory. Not much happens there except where your soul goes to rest. All these realms appear in Dragons Rising Season 3, the latter two being the most important. In this show, the Cursed Realm and Departed Realm fuse to become the Spectral Lands, the area we see more regarding in Season 3 Part 1. And with that fusion, the rules of the dead have now changed. The departed no longer linger in the Departed Realm and are now allowed to move on to the next phase of existence, and ghosts no longer seem to be affected by water. This all seems pretty cut and dry, right? With the Departed and Cursed Realms merged as one, you'd expect the new rules to be a combination of both their characteristics and effects. New rules means there's not much for me to complain about, right? Well, not exactly, because even though the rules changed, we still need an explanation for what these changes are and how they affect the realms, most of which don't get explained in the show. Let's start with the Spectrals. The Spectrals are the new ghost enemies for Dragons Rising. Instead of being green like the previous ghosts, they're now blue and controlled by Thunderfang. It doesn't seem like they can phase like our last ghosts, but they can turn invisible. The Spectrals can only be seen through prismatic material, a new material introduced by Dragons Rising, and they are said to be impervious to elemental masters. This is one of the first new rules I have questions about. Why is prismatic material so important to these spectral beings, and why have we never heard of it before? Remember, Spectrals will be relatively new creatures in canon, yet prismatic material is very clearly an old element. So what gives? Why aren't they weak to water? We never see Nia blast them with water, so I guess we'll never know. But still, you'd think she'd at least try, right? Why not summon another tsunami on Thunderfang? He's a giant ghost, just like the Preeminent. Maybe departed souls work differently than cursed souls, so maybe that'll be an explanation. Except it's never given in the show. Another question I have is, how did Thunderfang know he'd be more powerful as a ghost? He's never died before, and he doesn't know how the Spectral Lands work since the merge happened fairly recently. How did he get everything under control so fast? And even if we ignore the unexplained new rules, the explained ones are still broken. Going back to the Spectrals, when they touch people, those people lose their souls. Yep, instead of getting possessed or cursed, people now turn into zombies when touched. However, that's something new only Part 2 of Season 3 added. In Part 1, when you lost your soul, you died. When Thunderfang ate Lloyd's soul in the Part 1 finale, he died. And when he was defeated, the Forbidden Five literally died and their souls flew into Thunderfang's mouth. And when we see them in Part 2, they're ghosts. So why is it when people's souls are taken in Part 2, they become huskless zombies instead of corpses? And don't tell me kids show, because it's the very same kids show that brought these rules up. And on that note, let's touch on the Well of the Lost in Season 3 Part 1. The Well of the Lost is described as this new structure that was created after the merge. The elixir in the well, when drank by normal people, heals them of all injuries, but when drank by departed people, it helps them move on to the next phase of existence, be it reincarnation or eternal rest or whatever. This is how Arin defeated Thunderfang. And as people were quick to explain in my part 1 review, the elixir acted as a sort of fuel to Thunderfang's fire. The number of souls leaving him quickly was enough to kill him, especially since they had been powering him for so long. While I take this as my personal answer as to how Thunderfang was defeated, this is still something that the show didn't explain very well and was something again that fans came up with. And in hindsight, it would have made more sense to defeat Spectral Thunderfang this way, since you know, he's literally a ghost. But if you think that's bad, part 2 throws even more nonsense at you, hoping you won't process it quickly enough before you get to the next plot point. When Thunderfang drains all the collected souls into the well, the people he took them from do not move on. Now, I can already hear some of you guys argue, well, maybe since he needed all that soul energy to become a source dragon, he was able to take control of the world to prevent it from moving on, or something. And while that explanation would be all well and good, it was never explained or hinted at in the show. The statement I made is nothing but fanfic to explain a plot hole. And that's what this is. This gross oversight by the writers and refusal to properly explain the rules isn't just an inconsistent detail that the wiki could explain away. It's an active plot hole that could affect the quality of this season and the future ones to come. And it's not just the main plot that suffers. Death is made meaningless by none other than the Jinn. In Season 3, Part 2, Arakor says this line.
My wish magic isn't yet strong enough to bring back living things, like the Arc Dragon, or my people.
I'm not crazy, right? We all heard that, right?
My wish magic isn't yet strong enough to bring back living things, like the Arc Dragon, or my people.
So, Jinn can bring people back to life. Now, this isn't entirely outside the realm of possibility, sort of. After all, these are the 3 rules of wish magic.
I must warn you, you cannot wish for love, death, most certainly wishes. Yes, I know the rules.
Though I'd like to argue that wishing to bring someone back to life is similar to wishing for someone to die, because you're still bending the rules of mortality for it to happen. This of course was called out, and the head writer of the show, Doc Wyatt, did say that different Jinn operate on different rules. I can't find a screenshot because for some reason Blue Sky is just not working with me today, but it is on Blue Sky. And personally, I think this is a dumb retcon, because if you ask me, that means theoretically there's a Jinn out there who can break Nardakan's 3 rules. Again, we already saw one of them being broken in this very episode. And not to mention that as a whole, Arakor can cause harm to other people. Nardakan can't do that with wishes. So, like, what are we doing here? And I guess because we've seen Arakor do things that Nardakan can't do, this means that Arakor is more powerful than Nardakan. Which is weird, because if you know anything about Nardakan, it's that he's the literal Jinn king. Make it make sense, please. But back to the pressing issue at hand, since we've seen Arakor bring back the Arc Dragon of Focus, does this mean that once he's at full power, the ninja could ask him to bring back any loved ones they lost? Because if so, then why is everyone worried about dying in the first place? And what about the departed people whose souls have already moved on to the next plane of existence? Do they get pulled back to their previous plane? Is the soul split in 2? Why are we contradicting things? Why is wish magic so confusing? And you know the worst part about all of this? Is that we'll most likely never revisit these concepts or plot points. And if we do, they'll most likely be glossed over, much like most of the death concepts in Season 3 Part 2 already. So, in conclusion, there's really no conclusion this time. I just wanted to vent about this. I guess if there's something I learned, it's that death is starting to become meaningless in Ninjago, and I don't think I like that. While it was always meaningless, it felt like an option the show could rely on if they ever wanted to get more serious. Now, with options and ways to circumvent it, it feels like Ninjago is becoming sanitized, and they're losing one of their biggest stakes, and effectively replacing it with nothing, cause, let's face it, there's not much you can replace with death. At least, not on that level. Anyways, guys, this will be all from me today. Thank you so very much for watching my rant, and tell me, what did you think of how death was handled in the newest Dragons Rising season? Was it consistent, was it messy, or am I just missing something? If you feel like answering any of my questions or just want to be part of the discussion in general, do not be afraid to comment down below. And as always, let's have a discussion. Thank you guys very much for watching. Be sure to like if you like, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notification bell to be part of the team, slap a cow, and with that, I'll be Captain Phoenix, and I will see you in another universe. Goodbye, my Rangers.